My first video with the debugger was with Lionheart, but back then the debugger didn't have a lot of the features that it has now. Plus, I only did the first level back then, so I thought it would be good to revisit some of the later levels that I've never checked before. Okay, so once again, it's in dual playfield. So if we take the bitplanes off and go bitplane 0, 2, and 4 and play it, then that's the front layer there. And then if we switch to bitplane 1, 3, and 5, then we get the back layer. Now, the interesting thing about that, as you can see, is that the foreground, when you have it all together, which is this part, is actually in the background. But because there's a split here, then they can change the priority of this part to appear in the foreground. So yeah, when it's all together, this is what it looks like. So sprite-wise, you know if you watch the first video that Valdine is all a sprite, but now he has this beast. So look what they've done with the sprites. It's pretty impressive. So if I take everything off, so you've got sprite 0, which is part of the tail of the beast and the head of the beast. Sprite 1, you attach it and it becomes 15 colors. Sprite 2, you've got more of Valdine and some of the beast. And sprite 3, that attaches it again. Sprite 4, you get more, and Sprite 5 attaches. Sprite 6, some of the reins and the hands, and then Sprite 7 finishes it off. So that's all 8 sprites. So you might notice like this kind of corruption down here, and if you play it, it's part of the leg and part of Valdine. So I don't know if this is a glitch in the debugger or if it's a side effect of what they've done with the sprites and they cover it up. So if you put the bitplanes on, you see that it's covered up. And in the copper visualizer, at least, there's nothing pertaining to the sprites down here. If we put the sprite visualizer on, they show up as sprite 4 and sprite 3. And I forgot to mention that the HUD is also made up of the sprites. But look at even the pause. When you change it, the sprites 0 and 1 were the hearts, and then when you pause it, 0 and 1 become the pause. Check out the jigsaw puzzle of sprites here. I was having a discussion in the comments of the Shadow of the Beast 3 video about where the character's hat is a sprite, but it's too big for 16 pixels wide. So we were wondering whether it's vertically multiplexed or is it shifting the pixels? Because right here you can see attached 0 and 1 and then 0 and 1 up here. So this could be vertically multiplexed because it's above this top scan line. Then you've got the red here attached 6 and 7, and that would be 16 wide here, but then it's also here. But it's delineated by this line, so it could be vertically multiplexed because it is one line above. So looking at the copper visualizer, the only move sprite things that are in the list are right here. So there's an interrupt here, and then a couple down, it's sprite 6 control, and then sprite 7 control, and then sprite 6 position, and sprite 7 position. So 6 and 7 are the red ones. So from that information, maybe a coder in the comments could tell us definitively what's going on there. If you put the palette visualizer on, you can see that the first 8 colors here up to the red are the front layer, and then the next 7 are the back layer, but it's also split right here because of the front trees and rocks, which are actually in the background, but appear as if they're in the foreground. If you throw on the blitter visualizer, you can see that the enemies are being blit and the tiles are scrolling in. The copper is being used quite a bit, and the bitplanes, lots of slots. Here's something really cool I hadn't seen before. When you're jumping off the beast and you want to go onto the ship, you're actually transitioning from dual playfield 6 bitplanes down here to 5 bitplanes up here. Because if you take the 6th one off, you can see that it's not needed up here. So you can see that in the palette visualizer too. Down here, you've got the normal 6-bit plane dual playfield. And up here, you're sharing the same colors at the beginning. These colors from here to here are the same here to there. But over here, it's only 1, 2, 3 colors. So for 2-bit planes, it actually has 4 colors, but it also uses color 0, the gradient up top, but just these 3 colors for the bushes in the back. So if we swing up all the way to the top, you can also see in the copper visualizer that it changes right here. So you can see the split. So if we jump up onto the ship here, and then let's take a look at the bit planes. And if we put on the 6-bit plane, Nothing happens. See, so it's only 5-bit planes here. But as always, they change the colors with the copper and the background. So these three colors really become much more. And then here's the fourth color that it's using for the sky above. So for my whole life up until today, I thought that these levels with the copper backgrounds were in 32 colors. I would have sworn they were 32 colors. So I was so surprised when I hit the palette visualizer and I saw that there's only 16 colors. And not 16 color dual playfield, but just plain 16 colors. So it's just 4-bit planes. If we take the bit planes off, bit plane 0, 1, 2, and 3. Just 4-bit planes, 16 colors. But here's the rub. If you go down and look at the analyzed screen data, there's 90 colors here. Well, it switches between 90 and 95. And the background copper sky has about 20 or so. So there's over 70 colors on screen. So how are they doing that? If you look at the palette visualizer, here's our answer. They're copperizing every single color. Well, actually every color except the red and the pink here. It changes every line, but it's very subtle. So like this one, for example, changes right there, there, and there. This one starts at the top, switches there, there, and there. These ones are a little easier to see. Like you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 color changes here. But instead of stark changes, it's just used to do nice shading. It would be interesting if they took all that out just to see what this would look like. So if you put on the copper visualizer, you can see this green line is just changing color 0 to black, but then it's this line that's doing all the magic. If you get to color 1, then it goes, yeah, 1 by 1, color 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to color 15. And then it repeats back to color 1, changes them all the way down. So they were able to do this for the whole level. And these levels with the copper backgrounds are 8-way scrolling, multi-directional scrolling. So it changes no matter where you are on the screen. So what this tells me is that if this knowledge was available from 1985 until forever, every 16 color game, which was the minimum, could have been 70 plus colors. All it would have taken was the knowledge, the time, and the talent to do it. So it's a pretty revolutionary thought. And as I've shown in other videos, games like Menace from 1988 and Shadow of the Beast from 1989 did similar sort of palette tricks, but none of them to this extent. So this is kind of like a paradigm shift. It kind of changes everything that I thought before. I just had another revelation with this level that I didn't know before. When I took off the bit planes and wanted to make it dual playfield, I noticed that bit plane 1 and 3 is all that's needed for the background. Bit plane 5 is not. So it's only 2 bit planes in the background. So this is the background scrolling. And bit plane 0, 2, and 4 are the foreground. So that's all 3 bit planes. So that's it scrolling. And then here it is all together. So yeah, no idea there was only 3 colors back there. So if you put the palette visualizer on, you can see it. There's these colors here for the foreground, and then the background is just these 3, and it uses color 0 also. So check out all the copper color changes. There's 130 something colors right here, and it keeps changing. And visible in the level, yeah, between 120 and 130, it just changes so often. So here's the background again. Could you ever imagine if this is only 3 colors? So essentially there's only 3 drawable colors, and then there's also, if you take all the bit planes off, there's this color 0 here behind it. So with the copper visualizer on, you can see it all in action. Right here is color 0, changing all the way down. And then over here, just like the last level we looked at, is changing all the original colors one by one down here. So let's return to just the background. And these purple over here are the bit plane pointers, and they change the speed of the scroll on each line. So it's pretty much line scrolling because it goes line by line. So you can see when you're moving that it has this really smooth line scroll, and they all correspond to the bit plane pointer changes in the purple. So with the sprites, you've got the HUD and the player and the lava down here. But what's interesting about the moon here is sprite 6 and 7 is the moon. But if you go into the copper visualizer, so right here you can see it's changing color 29, color 30, and color 31. And we're not using 32 color mode. We're just in dual playfield with 5 bit planes. So 29, 30, and 31 would be the sprite colors. So it's changing all three of the colors that are used to make up the moon. So they really spared no stops here in this game. And the revelations just don't stop. I've come back to the first level now that we have all these new tools to check stuff out. And I just discovered something amazing again. We all know it's dual playfield, but like in the level where we jumped up onto the ship and it only had 5-bit planes, look at this. If I take the 6-bit plane off, it only affects the middle. So when you put the palette visualizer on, you can see that only this part is in 6-bit plane dual playfield. So you've got the foreground colors right here, and then those are the same up here and down here. But the difference is that the background is only 3 colors at the top and 3 colors at the bottom. Just in the middle where the mountains are is where it is 7 colors. So if I put that bit plane back on, then you get the nice mountains, take it off, and the mountains are incomplete. So I guess they did that as just another way to optimize and make it faster. And now I realize even something else, that when the palette visualizer on, you can see that it looks like the colors are different at the bottom, like the amount of colors. So there's a feature that I don't show much where you can put the DMA up. And if you put that in full screen, so these blue lines, each vertical blue line is a bit plane. And at the top, you can see that there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then below where the mountains are, there's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then below these mountains, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. But then at the bottom here, again, there's a lot of flickering, but it looks like there's just 1, 2, 3, 4 bit planes. Just 4 down here. So that had me playing around with the bit planes and with just the first 3 on, which is the foreground. So everything looks normal down here except for the colors are a little wrong. So if you put on bit plane 5, that's still the same. If you put on bit plane 3, it's still the same. But if you put on bit plane 1, then it fixes it. And if you take bit plane 5 off and bit plane 3 off, then it's fine. So there you are, just 4 bit planes at the bottom, like the DMA was saying. So it looks like it's 4 bit planes, then 5 bit planes, then 6, then 5 again. Look at the colors down here, 170 something right now. So let's just go down the vine and watch it go. 180, 190, 180. It's incredible. Another thing I didn't talk about was that the background can be interlaced or non-interlaced. So right now it's non-interlaced, so you can sort of see the lines more directly. But if you press I for interlace, then the resolution goes up and it looks a lot smoother, but it also has a bit of a flicker. So you can choose between the two. And the creme de la creme of these swamp levels is the palette visualizer, because it really shows you, just like we were looking at before, that it changes the foreground, which is all these colors. So you can see how subtly they change the foreground colors. So we'll see if I can jump up the tree without being able to see. Then you can watch the colors go up and down. So here's the first jump, then the second, and the third. So you saw all those colors change. And then if I drop back down, so yeah, it does that throughout the whole game, everywhere. So it was a gargantuan amount of work, but what a result. Lastly, we'll check out the cave level here. Always really like the walking animation on this guy. Look at that. The ironic thing about this level, though, is that it's in extra half bright, but it actually has the least amount of colors of any of the levels because of the techniques we saw in the dual playfield and the 16 color mode. Here's the palette visualizer. So it's got the 32 colors in the beginning, and then it's got 32 over here that are half the brightness of these. So right here, that's about 60 colors, but then in this particular spot in the game, it's only about 50 colors. And they've taken a break from the copper here. They just use it for the sprites at the top and then nothing down here. And then here's the guy with the glitter visualizer on. So it's really cool how they combine so many techniques in the game. Shout out to Erwin Kloipoffer, the programmer, Hank Nieborg, who did the amazing graphics, and Eric Simon, who designed a lot of it, and I think helped out a lot with the palette. So this is AAA Amiga quality. What a classic. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take care.